Welcome to Stochastic MLB Live Before Lock. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Matthew Bellman. You can find him on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. This show is, of course, produced as always by Jordan Klein. You can find him on Twitter at Jordan D. Klein. And this show is sponsored by Owner's Box. Really cool new partnership we have going on. Owner's Box is a DFS site with Superflex. It's also, I have no idea if these contests are going to fill, but what I'm really excited about is we actually have Sims. We're going to have Sims for Owner's Box. And right now these are the best deals you can find when you can use Sims against a field who is not using Sims. It's going to be a pretty, rudimentary field that we're playing against for Owner's Box. We're going to be able to sim the contest, really take advantage and hopefully do really well. But we'll talk about Owner's Box a little bit more later on. I'm just excited about it. While you're coming, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you haven't heard about our new podcast giveaway, with football season starting, we are releasing podcast exclusive content. I know Lofty and Ben Rasa put out some podcast exclusive content today. We're really excited about it, and we're doing a giveaway as a result. If you subscribe to our podcast channel, which is Stochastic Daily Fantasy is the name of the channel, leave a 5-star review. You can have a chance to win. We'll have 3 winners selected. The first place winner is going to get a free year of Stochastic Max NFL data package. Second and third place are also going to get a free month of the Stochastic Max NFL data package. So check it out. If you haven't checked out our podcast channel, again, we have podcast exclusive content, and all you got to do is leave a 5-star review. You'll have a chance at winning some of our tools. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Long weekend. Happy to be back at it on camera with you. Don't get that chance too often, so I'm excited to be here with you, man. I'm excited also to continue our conversation about the fairs both of us went to, or the parades, whatever you want to call it. How was the Minnesota State Fair? I really want the top 3 foods you ate, although I'm not sure like how much you ate, etc. I know it's hard for me to like eat a ton of stuff there. It's so heavy, etc.
Yeah. So I made an immediate mistake when I got there. So we showed up hungry, and rather than like waiting to find good food, we each, my wife and I each got an apple fritter that, like, to me, it was basically, I would say it was like gas station level, just like it's kind of standard. Like, it was good. It was a good apple fritter, but like,
sure,
you find good apple fritters all over the place. I feel like it was a mistake to waste, 500 calories, whatever, on an apple fritter when there's so much good, unique food at the Minnesota State Fair. So that would not be one of the 3 that I would necessarily say was my favorite. Man, we got what do we got? We got some hummus. We got some, there was a really good hummus place, which I'm not usually a huge hummus guy. I like it here and there, like in little bits, but I don't like a ton of hummus. But it was really, really good. It was hummus with like barbacoa mixed in, really good. Like,
it had to have been really good for them to have like a thing at the state fair, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of unique. You're only getting unique foods. I didn't have anything deep fried off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember now. What else did it? Oh, we got a kebab. Just a standard.
Okay.
Had a few bites of meat with some veggies, some bell peppers on there, which was good. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there were anything that like really blew my mind at the state fair. I think those are the only foods off the top of my head. Oh, we had some icy. So here's how it went. It was 97 degrees, and like, you're just walking around. It's like filled with people just sweating our asses off. So it was very hot. So we needed some cold foods. We got that. We got the ice, which was really good. Also had some cheese curds, which are good, but pretty standard fare there. How about you? You went to the Ohio? It was a county fair. Is that right?
Yeah, it was the Geauga County Fair. The Ohio State Fair is in Columbus, which is a couple hours away. I'm not sure when that is. I don't think it was this weekend. I'm sure it's probably soon. Similar to you, man. It was hot as hell. Walking, I was pushing a stroller at this fair. As I was telling you, it's in like, it was like 45 minutes, an hour away from us, in a very like like redneck trashy type of a place. Sure. Still a lot of people are there, but that's like what the place is like. Animals, like there was places to see animals, which my wife loves taking my daughter to see, so there was that, which also made it smell awful. I hate that. So it was fun being there with family. Very disappointed in the food. I told you, I've been watching a lot of TikToks about the Minnesota State Fair, all the different food they have. It was nothing like that. They just had stereotypical fair food here, a lot of it, but just funnel cakes and all that stuff. She ended up getting a gyro. I got a hot dog, which was probably a mistake. There was just nothing I really wanted, and we split a funnel cake on the way out. Okay. We didn't even finish it. It was good, but it was so hot. Like, that fried food when it's so hot just doesn't mix with me.
Yeah, no, that is the kind of the hard thing. It was like I heard that like the pork chops are actually phenomenal at the Minnesota State Fair. I've never had the pork chop, but apparently it's like
I
the
saw
best
someone
food
eat
you can
that.
get. Yeah. So in case you guys didn't know this, Matt has been getting on his TikTok. He's been getting a ton of Minnesota State Fair foods on his TikTok, which is just that is not what I get. I mean, I don't have TikTok, I guess. So I guess that's why I don't get that on my feed. I just get whatever people send me for TikTok. But that is hilarious that Minnesota State Fair food
is
big,
somehow I landed on that side of TikTok. I have no idea how, but it happened.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to say what part of the reason we were there. I mean, not really the reason we were there, but my nephew is in 4-H, so he was in the State Arts In and County Arts In like show, like they did like a musical show, which was
that's awesome,
really, really entertaining. So that was fun. Also, I got to shout out Chris Williams here, our Apple guy, gifting out some Stochastic memberships. One of them went to me. Thank you, Chris, for the Stochastic membership. I feel bad. I should turn off my gifting because like other people definitely need it more than I do. Like I don't actually take advantage of it, I don't think so. I should probably turn off my gifting just to make sure that goes to somewhere else. So if I can figure out how, maybe I'll gift a YouTube membership to someone else one of these days to pay it back. But thank you, Chris. And yeah, Chris sent a super chat as well. Neil just gifted you a membership. I do appreciate it, Chris. Like I appreciate you doing that for all the members, but I'm like, because I have the wrench, I think I have a lot of those features anyway, so I don't really know exactly what it does for me. I don't know who is manning the Stochastic account. I'm assuming it's Jordan. It says going to a fair and getting hummus is crazy. It wasn't just hummus though. Like it was like a hummus bowl with like, as I said, barbacoa flat bread that you put it on. It was actually really good. But yeah, was not a deep fried Snickers as you might expect at the Minnesota State Fair. All right. I guess we've probably talked about the foods at our fairs as much as we need to for now. I'll probably think of something as we're going on the show, and I'll come back and tell you. I didn't have any of the pickle beer. Oh, I'll say this: there were huge lines for pickle pizza. Apparently, that's the thing this year.
Oh, I saw that too. It's like the white sauce. Like that looks. I'm not a huge pickle guy. I'm just not.
I like pickles just fine, but I wasn't going to wait in a long line for it. Like if it was like an option at a place that had like a 2 people in line, I'd consider getting a slice of pickle pizza, but I'm not going to wait in a long ass line for pickle pizza. We also had pickle beer, which I didn't try that either. So yeah, pickled stuff.
There was a pickle fried corn dog at this one, and it made me think of the Minnesota State Fair with all the pickle stuff.
Naturally, yeah. All right, let's start by talking about some of the top pitchers on this slate, Matt, and we'll start at the top. So I know you told me before the show you're only playing 2 lineups tonight. Of course, in case you guys missed it, there is a Millie Maker contest tonight, so it's a $2,500 buy-in. So Matt only playing 2 contests, but still getting his money down there. So maybe it's a little bit harder to talk about like, well, who am I playing? You probably don't want to give away your exact lineups to us, but let's just talk about who you like at the top. So talking about all the pitchers that are above 10,000 in salary. Actually, let's go down to 9,000. Get 5 of these pitchers out of the way. So we got Garrett Cole at 12,000, Nathan Eovaldi 10,400, Framber Valdez 10,100, Chris Bassett 9,700, Michael Lorenzen 9,000. Who do you like among these high price pitchers? Do you have any priorities here?
Not really. This is a weird slate. There's like a lot of just like not great stuff, not bad stuff all over, like hitting wise and pitching wise. So from the pitching side of it, I think Cole is the top dog. I mean, he's the best pitcher on the slate. He's in a good matchup against Detroit. How he's pitched this year, I don't think he deserves that $12K price tag. And I don't think he's like a must to force in, but he certainly, it's easy to do. If you want to prioritize him, you can. I just don't think you have to. Bassett looks good at 9,700. He just also shouldn't be. He's way too expensive. I thought coming into this slate when I looked at the matchups, he would be between 8 and 8,500 where he's been for most of the year. He's priced up for the matchup. I think he's fine to go to, but I feel similarly about him as I do Cole. And, you know, ownership is kind of showing that Cole is much higher in our top pitcher tool. Bassett's easier to get to. Valdez is like the odd man out. We've seen this a bunch lately with like one guy, you know, probably overpriced, just getting absolutely no love. I remember recently you did a slate with like Jordan Montgomery where he was in a spot like this. Looks just to me same as that, like tough spot against Texas. He's a good pitcher. He's been much more hit or miss over the second half of the season. So like certainly don't feel comfortable about him. He is a good way to get leverage though. Like in the Millie Maker where 50% of the winnings goes to the top prize, like that's a play where like, yeah, you might not feel comfortable making it, but no one does. That's why he's going to be low owned. So I view all these guys, like none of them as a must, but they're all like in play for their different, for their own different ways. Cole is obviously the best option. Wouldn't be surprised at all if, he ends up being the highest owned pitcher on the slate along with Fott. I think that's going to be like the pairing. Then people will go to Bassett.
That makes sense. Junior Smart says, or Junior S, I don't know what it means. Well, hopefully we don't have to pay for picks for a different MLB stream from Matt tonight. No, Matt will still he's not going to give us his exact lineups, but don't worry, Matt's gonna tell us who he likes to play. That's not a worry. Just didn't want to ask him specifically okay, which pitcher are you going to at the top, because he is playing in a small field contest with a ton of money on the line. But yeah, he'll probably tip his hand anyway. Kind of hard not to, talking about his slate. Appreciate you coming on here, Bellman, when you've got so much money on the line in just 2 lineups. All right. So
as we were talking about before, there's people with quite a bit more of money on the line tonight.
That is true. Yeah. There are people who are, I think, maxing out this Millie Maker contest, which, man, I could not do that. I could have $1 billion. No, if I had $1 billion, I'd probably do it. But short of that, I probably wouldn't be playing as much as some people do. But good.
It's funny too. I think I didn't look exactly, but I think there are quite a few people, not, a decent amount of people maxing it, because this morning it was like almost halfway full and it stayed like that for a couple hours. Then it's picked up, but it was stagnant at, about halfway full for a few hours throughout the afternoon.
Right. And now it looks like it's going to fill, right?
It should.
Okay. So we're, it's only a 900% contest. Doesn't take a ton, but yeah, looking like it's going to fill. All right. Moving down in price, let's move to the mid-range and just talk about everybody who is between 8,000 and 9,000. I guess we only have 3 in that price range. Let's add in the 7,900 guys. So in the mid-range, we've got Dylan Cease, Dean Kramer, Kyle Hendricks, Brady Singer, and Alex Faedo. Anybody you like from this range?
Faedo's way overpriced, so he's not even in consideration. Tough spot. Love is too strong of a word. I like Kramer a lot. The field's getting there as well. This Angels lineup is weak right now. Probably no Ohtani tonight, which, moves the needle a little bit. One hitter doesn't change that much for me, but when it's a weak lineup like the Angels and a hitter like Ohtani, I mean, it definitely matters.
Yep.
He's been solid this year. Nothing spectacular, but cushy spot for him. In Angel Stadium, not the best ballpark, but good matchup on paper against that lineup. So he's the guy that makes the most sense. It's interesting to me that Cease is a little bit higher in our top pitcher tool, basically the same, both between 12 and 13%. Cease is getting significantly less ownership, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's even less than that. If Cease comes in a tournament like the Millie Maker, let's say 10% or under, because he's been very volatile. Given our tools, though, it's not like he's coming in with leverage, but a lot of these guys, or a couple of these guys, are coming in with negative leverage. So getting off those guys, I think, is all the leverage you need. I think that, Cole, Bassett, Kramer, and Fott are the 4 best pitchers on the slate, price considered, and that's what ownership's showing. I know Detmers is in there as well. I just don't think the ownership's going to be there like we're seeing for Detmers, given how he's been and given the matchup against Baltimore. I just don't see it.
Interesting. So yeah, we've got him at 26% ownership. You're taking the under there.
I'm taking the under, yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we do have some massive negative leverage there. 26% projected ownership, 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and 11% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. But yeah, it does seem like that's a tall ask for pitcher going up against Baltimore. All right. Well, so you think that the ownership is warranted, though, on the guys that we have getting significant ownership, which again, Garrett Cole at the top, Chris Bassett in that top tier, Dean Kramer in this middle tier. Do you think and then Reed Detmers, you think that 26% ownership on Detmers? Oh, we're still moving down to the cheaper guys. So we can move down to the bottom tier. Just talk about everybody 7,600 or under, starting with, as you said, Reed Detmers. But we have projected for 26% ownership. You think that it's going to be a little bit lower, but do you think that 26% ownership would be warranted if the field were getting there?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, our top pitcher tool doesn't even think it's close. He's 8th in the tool, projected to be 3rd or 4th in ownership. He's got upside. In tournaments, I think he makes some sense because he's got upside, as we've seen in a bunch of his starts this year. He also has struggled in a lot of his starts, and he's in a really tough matchup. I much prefer facing Baltimore with left-handed pitching, so he's got that, and he's affordable at 7,600. I think he's a better play on paper than Brady Singer, who's right there, even in a tougher matchup, just because of the strikeout upside. But I don't think it's warranted. He's like the odd man out for me. I view this slate as 4 like clear best pitchers with Cole, Bassett, Fott, and Kramer. The field's looking at it as 5 with Detmers in there. I don't view it that way. Honestly, given our top pitcher tool, Pedro Avila for the Padres, who's even cheaper. You said we're talking about the cheap guys also.
Yeah.
Is higher in our top pitcher tool and coming in with like a 5th of the ownership. So I personally, like in tournaments, given that, I'd play Avila over Detmers. Our top stack tool also likes the Phillies on the other side of that. So, it's kind of a risky play, sure. But
yeah,
I just don't view Detmers as worthy of that ownership. Do you see it as similarly, or do you not have a great feel on it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, it's obviously a tough spot for Detmers, and you know how I rely on the top pitchers tool. The top pitchers tool tell me that no, it's not warranted. I don't think that Detmers looks like a great play here. Looks like Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, man, we don't love taking pitchers in Colorado typically, but the Rockies are just so bad that sometimes
he's at
play.
home.
Oh, you're right. All right. Yeah, it is at home. All right. So that's even better for Brandon Pfaadt. Man, that is hard to miss at home for Brandon Pfaadt. 6,900 against this Rockies team. We do have him for 37% ownership, though. Do you think that it's warranted?
No, it's certainly he's over-owned. I just, we've talked about this a lot, when I've been on shows. I'm just fine eating a little bit more of the pitcher ownership just because it's much more projectable. So I don't feel as good about Fott as I did like Merrill Kelly or Cole Reagans yesterday. Sure. But given the context of this slate, the Colorado matchups offered so many strikeouts. I think his over-under is 6.5 today with juice on the over. This guy strikes out a lot of guys. He's struggling in his last matchup. That was against the Dodgers. He's been good since he got recalled. He looks like the clear, like, cheap guy to go to in my eyes. And I don't even think it's crazy to like Avila is the guy that pops out to me in the top pitcher tool. I mean, as you said, you're someone that looks at the tool a lot. Like, how does that not stand out to you? Especially now, and again, one batter doesn't mean everything, but Trey Turner, who's been arguably the hottest hitter in baseball, on the paternity list. Right. So that doesn't hurt his cause,
Yeah, really good point. Are you a best ball guy, Matt?
I'm not. I got some tickets. So like I did 5 drafts. They were fun. Like once I did them, I was like, man, maybe I would have done more if I'd done this earlier. It's funny. And the one I did one last night, EMAC was in it, like randomly.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I'm not a best ball guy, but I do think they're fun. And I get why people are. Why do you ask about Kelsey?
I was going to ask about Kelsey, but I asked because I just got a notification on my phone that my pick is up on DraftKings. So I do a ton of slow drafts. So like where you have the 8-hour pick, right? 8 hours to make your pick. However, as you get closer to the season, they condense the time. So like I enter all these drafts thinking, all right, I've got 8 hours. It happens every year. I make this mistake every year. And then we get to the day where, oh, now we have 10 minutes to make your pick. So I just got that notification. I'm like, oh crap, but I think I'm down to just one final draft that I have a couple more picks to make. So thankfully I will be out of slow draft hell momentarily. But yeah, that was actually the second thing I was going to bring up. Did you pick any Kelsey on your teams? Or where would you pick Kelsey now?
I mean, probably like a couple picks later. I don't think I did both. I had 2-year-long leagues, both auction leagues. I didn't end up with Kelsey in either. I thought he was going for too high anyways. I did pick up Noah Gray in both my leagues right after I saw that happen. Just for the who knows? Like he's not like probably won't work out, but those are the kind of the speculative ads that you need to make, in my opinion, in those year-long leagues. I think Kelsey should be fine though. Like all the reports coming out, who knows? Like football injuries can be tough to really like nail down until the doctor tells you what's what. So honestly, I have no idea. I don't know where I'd pick him if I were drafting tonight. I mean, probably I think he's going like round 1. I probably wouldn't. I wasn't going to take him round 1 anyways. I'd probably just be out on him altogether personally, like because I wasn't going to pay the price. Now with this, someone will take him. Like he'll still go high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm actually pushing him to the back of the second round. I think I'm scared enough of all of this. Like I'm just like, man, I was already a little bit like there's an age cliff coming at some point. Of course, I know people have been saying it for years with Kelsey, like because there was a couple years ago, there were some metrics by which he looked like he was slowing down, and then of course looked great last year. So
yeah,
who knows? But for me, I'm like, you really like early on, I think you really need to have some floor built in those first couple rounds.
I think you'll agree with this. This is how I view it. Like you can't really win your fantasy leagues with like your first couple picks because everyone's getting good players, but you can lose it with your first couple picks. Exactly. So like, I'm with you. Like, I think that's kind of saying it in two different ways. We see that eye to eye.
Yep, exactly. I will say yesterday or 2 days ago, I did a draft where I got the 101. I got my J Jets, and then coming around at pick 24, Cooper Kupp was available, and I couldn't resist having Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. I'm like, man, that is just the upside is too high for those two. So man, maybe the same thing with Travis Kelce.
You feel better about Kelce or Kupp? I was going to ask you.
I think I feel better about Kelce at this point.
Same.
But I think we could get news like within 24 hours that completely changes all of that. But yeah, for
I
now,
agree.
I prefer Kelce. Yeah.
Just because Kupp missed the time last year, and it seems like he just hasn't been healthy. I agree with you. If there is news to come out that one of these guys was out for the year tomorrow, it's Kelce, though. I'm with you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, because they were talking about his ACL. Like his ACL appears to still be intact. Right. Like, that is terrifying. So we'll
for
see.
Sure.
We had some CJ asked, when's Adam get back from sabbatical? I believe it's October 27th. He said it. He actually he came on my best ball live stream last week, and he said the date. I think it was October 27th. I'm not 100% on that, but he'll be back soon. And that's in response to Mike, producer Mike says, one time I was producing a live show with Adam, and we both were in the same underdog draft. That does not surprise me with Adam. I couldn't do it while I'm on a show, but good for Adam drafting his underdog team while doing a show. That is impressive. Emac says he's almost done with his 100 drafts on DraftKings. Nice job, Emac. All right. We did get a question from Einstein. I think you touched on it briefly, but how do you feel about Dylan Cease?
Cease looks like a decent he looks like a good contrarian option because we're not showing him with like much leverage in the tools, but the leverage comes from not playing one of those other guys. So if he ends up outscoring Kramer, more people are going to be on Kramer. So like, that's where the leverage comes. He's higher in our tools, like barely, like I said. I feel better about Kramer in this spot personally, but I get why someone would go to Cease if they're using a chalky offense. It just, I don't feel there's really much you have to worry about ownership wise tonight. Couple offenses, couple hitters for sure, but it's a wide open slate. It's like the exact opposite of an NBA slate.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about DraftKings pitchers before we move on to FanDuel?
No, I think the guy that stands out in the tools is Pedro Avila. I don't feel great about it, but he is just, the top pitcher tool, price like not price considered. He's 11% chance to be a top 2 pitcher tonight. Yeah, getting 6% really ownership. Like, that's crazy. I'm like shocked to see that. That's one where, again, like, knowing ball, as they say, like, I don't see that, but like, that doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? It makes no difference.
Yeah, it feels like a spot where if I were playing like 2 lineups, for example, I could do both sides, one in one lineup, one in the other. I could do Pedro Avila in one lineup. I could do the Phillies in a different lineup. Of course, we haven't talked about top stacks yet, so maybe I changed my mind on that. But just looking at it, it's like, oh, this is a spot where you could just completely diversify what you're doing here and play Pedro Avila in one, the Phillies in the other. Could make some sense. I do not listen to me for any advice on your 2 lineups with a lot of money at stake, Bellman. But that's just something that stands out to me. All right, so you pull up FanDuel, but I do want to tell people about this deal that we have with Owner's Box because it really is a very, very exciting deal. Like, the amount of things that you're getting if you use our promo code at Owner's Box is kind of baffling to me. And of course, this show is brought to you by Owner's Box. They are our sponsor. We have a new partnership with them. We're very excited about it. So it's a DFS site where there is Superflex. There's no defense on Owner's Box. It's just an extra spot for you can play a second quarterback. That's typically what I'm going to do. I'm going to be trying to stack 2 teams within my Owner Box teams. I think that it's a fantastic site, and I think that there's a lot of strategy that goes into it that a lot of people are probably going to get wrong. But one thing that I'm very excited about is we are going to have sims associated with Owner's Box. We're going to have sims for the Owner's Box contest specifically. I think that is very exciting because I think there are going to be a lot of bad players in these contests, and I think that we're going like straight to the top of like the most advanced way to play. So I'm excited about it. But here's what we can offer you. So we've teamed up to offer our viewers a free month of our most valuable subscription we've ever created, our new Sims Max package, which retails for $199 per month. So you're going to get a free month of the Sims Max package, which of course includes the Owner's Box. So you sign up at OwnerBox using our link and make a deposit. I think you have to play a little bit to take advantage of this deal, but you sign up, you're going to get access to a free month of our Sims package, the Max package, which is worth $199 per month. So here, how it will work is you'll sign up, deposit, and play, and you will be emailed a promo code within 24 to 48 hours to redeem your free month of Stochastic Sims Max. So I think that's fantastic by itself. However, on top of that, you're also going to get your first deposit matched up to $500. So you have to deposit at least $10, and then your whatever amount you put in, you're going to be matched up to $500. You don't see that often. It's usually up to $100, where they are matching up to $500. And on top of that, not done yet, you're also going to get a free Lightning lineup entry, an additional $5 contest ticket on top of all of that. So yeah, really, really giving you all the stuff when you sign up at Owner's Box right now using our Sims really is a fantastic deal. And I just love the fact that it's super flex for one thing, which I think a lot of people are just going to play it wrong, most likely. On top of that, you get access to our Sims package, which then you can use to make even better Owner's Box lineup. So I'm very excited about this partnership that we have going on right now. I'm going to be doing a VOD tomorrow on my approach to Owner's Box using the Sims. So check that out. And of course, you must be 18 years of age or older to play. I think probably 21 plus in some states. I'm not sure about that. But if you or somebody knows gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, though, really excited about this partnership with Owner's Box. It's a site that's actually been around for a while. I have friends who live in Ontario where the only DFS site they can play is Owner's Box. And I actually know at least one guy who's absolutely been crushing Owner's Box because, again, I think that the competition is not as strong as, more established DFS sites. So check it out if you haven't already done so. Link in the description of the video and in chat. All right, Matt, have you pulled up FanDuel pitchers?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything, I'll just go straight to it. Like, do you have anything that stands out to you that's different on FanDuel than on DraftKings? Do you have a favorite pitcher on FanDuel, wherever you want to start?
Not really. I mean, ownership's looks similar in how it's breaking out. Obviously lower for each pitcher because you're only rostering one. Pricing is pretty much similar. Like Valdez is the odd guy out. Cole is the most expensive, kind of like he is on, or exactly like he is on DK. Bassett's a little too expensive, but he's the best in that range. Fott is 70. Like, it's basically the same for me. If you want to pay up, I think Cole's the option. I think Fott in that matchups, him, Detmers, who's also even cheaper here than he is on DK. So I get that love. Like, he's even less expensive than Fott here. So I understand why he's pulling a little bit of love on FanDuel. It's the same five guys for me. With Detmers in the mix on FanDuel or on DK, I don't really like him.
All right. So not as interested in, I don't think you named Avila as one of your guys on DraftKings anyway, of your your primary 4 or 5. I would think that you don't want to play him on FanDuel. That would be a difference. Like, because he, as somebody, Anthony points out in chat, Avila literally hasn't gone 5 innings yet this year.
Yeah.
That matters a little bit on draft. I mean, it certainly matters on DraftKings, like for multiple reasons, but especially on FanDuel, where you get the quality start bonus if you go 6 innings, get 3 or fewer runs or whatever it is. Maybe you're less inclined to play Avila on FanDuel.
Definitely less inclined to play Avila on FanDuel for that reason, and also on FanDuel, he's 400 less than Detmers. On DK, he's 1,300 less. Like, Detmers is the better pitcher. And if one of these guys is going to go out and win a GPP, it's Detmers. So basically the same price, it give me Detmers. So no, Avila's just a price play on DK. Like, he's even cheaper there than he is on FanDuel. So that's all it is. But again, I don't love him. The tools make him stand out to me. So if I were playing 150, I'd be overweight. That doesn't mean I'm going to lock him in tonight.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Anything else you want to say about FanDuel pitchers? You ready to talk about some DraftKings?
Let's get into some DraftKings
hitters. Some stacks. Some stacks.
Yeah.
Let's get into some DraftKings stacks. Yeah, I knew you're picking up what I'm putting down, even when I'm not saying what I'm putting down.
Always.
We got Einstein says Neil mentioned the podcast. I mentioned at the top of the show, but yeah, we are reviving the podcast channel. We got that giveaway going on, and we are, as I said, going to have podcast exclusive content all NFL season. So you really should sign up, because oftentimes we're putting our YouTube shows on the podcast channel, but here we're actually getting some, new content that is podcast specific. So check it out if you haven't already done so. Steve asking, do we smash Gray if Kelsey is out Thursday night? Yeah, I think the field will too. We'll have to wait and see ownership projections. I'll be on Live Before Lock for an NFL Live Before Lock on Thursday as well. But My guess is he's going to project really well, look really good. I assume Jody Fortson is back too, so maybe there will be a little bit of a committee in the tight end room in Kansas City as there has been. But yeah, they're all going to look pretty good.
Blake Bell also.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we got all those Kansas City backup tight ends that really complicate things for me. Can't just do like a one for one swap. All right, stacks. We ready to talk some stacks on FanDuel?
Yeah, let's get into
DraftKings. All right. So the top stack by a little bit of a margin is the Braves. We've got them as a 12% chance of being the top stack at just 10% ownership, but just a 1% chance of being the top point per dollar stack. So clearly a little bit hard to get to the Braves. You think it's worth it to 5-man stack them?
Always worth it to 5-man stack them. I mean, they're the best offense in baseball. As you know, per usual, they're the top stack on the board, and they're a little bit less ownership than they should be. It's funny because there's no cores today, like pulling a ton of ownership. Almost every team is owned like how they should be, or a little bit over-owned. There's a couple exceptions. The Braves are one of them. They're a little bit under-owned. The Orioles look like a big exception, who are not getting as much love as they should given our tools. Yeah, Atlanta's the top stack on the board. It's, again, hard to prioritize them because they're really expensive. But Mikolas is not a guy you're afraid to pick on, and they have GPP winning upside every slate they're on.
Yeah. Dan Charlin says Neil Fortson is on the IR. So you can tell that I have not dug into this showdown slate.
Yeah, I think it's Bell and Gray who are the two guys.
Okay. So they still do have 2 tight ends, but at least they don't have 3 backup tight ends we're going to have to worry about. I'm assuming that Kelsey's going to be out.
Who knows if they sign someone or whatever, too.
Yeah. And then, and of course, Mike Lawrence put into chat, speaking of podcasts, After Lock, check out episode 37 of High Stakes featuring our very own Matthew Bellman. Yeah, you should check that out after Lock. That is also on the podcast channel. So it's both here on YouTube, also on the podcast channel. All right.
I was actually talking to Bobby Gomes like last week ago.
Way.
And yeah, and he was like, did you watch the pod? And I was like, I forgot. And I put it on that day. So I listened to the whole thing. It was a great pod. So
yeah,
he's
a great
conversation.
I love talking to Bobby. He's also like super interesting, just like being like, the origins of DFS go back with Bobby Gomes. So it was fun talking with him about his history in the DFS space. All right. So Atlanta, we're always 5-man stacking. We have a few other teams getting ownership here. So really just 3 getting double-digit ownership. So we have Atlanta, who we already talked about. The Mets are up there as well, as are the Giants. The Giants I always struggle with the Giants because of the pinch hit risk. What do you think of the Giants today? Are you willing to play some Giants against Kyle Hendricks?
So I think you should be a lot less worried about the pinch hit risk today. The Cubs, I believe, only have 1 lefty in their bullpen right now. It's Drew Smiley, who has reverse splits. That doesn't really matter if Kepler pulls the guys anyways, but only having 1, I think, sure, we don't know what's going to happen if they use him, but a lot less of a chance than I think you're normally looking at. Also, the pinch hit risk is a lot lower when they're facing a righty, just inherently. Okay. There's less lefties in the pen. There's less lefty hitters, etc. So, it's just inherently less. Yeah, so it's just inherently smaller. And I think tonight even smaller than that. So they do look good. Wind blowing out there, they look very good here.
All right. Who do you like the best of those 3 stacks that are getting double-digit ownership? The Braves, the Mets, the Giants.
That's a good question.
How would you rank the 3?
It's got to be the Braves first, because that's what our top stack tool says. They're actually getting the least amount of ownership. So I think it's the Braves number 1, then the Giants, then the Mets. I think the Mets look good. They've got good history against Corbin. They're priced well, nice ballpark for them. But still the Braves versus the Mets. Like, give me the Braves. Pitchers they're facing are very comparable. Give me the Braves there. The Giants look good. I do think Hendricks is the best pitcher out of the 3, though. So I think it's Braves, Giants, Mets.
Braves. I think that's totally fair assessment. Even and it sounds like you are in on the Giants. It sounds like today. I mean, they look, as we said, 10% projected ownership, 17% chance of being the top point per dollar stack as well. So Giants looking pretty good along with the Braves. Mets, they're facing Patrick Corbin though. I guess I get why they're getting the ownership facing Patrick Corbin. Yeah, kind of all 3 of them. The ownership does make some sense. Any other stacks, like less owned stacks that you have a lot of interest in tonight?
2 teams that I like. Actually, I mentioned Baltimore already. The 3 teams after Baltimore in our top stack tool two of which are getting a little bit of love. One's not. Arizona, St. Louis, and Toronto. Arizona, you've got facing Kyle Freeland, who's not very good. They've got a ton of righties in their lineup. I think you have to worry a little bit about pinch hit risk for the like lesser guys like Longoria, Rivera, who's hitting second tonight, but they look good. St. Louis against Soroka is really interesting. Good hitting weather there, good ballpark. Soroka has been good in the minors since he got called down, since he got sent down, excuse me, but he wasn't very good in the majors. This is a guy who missed like 3 years, got hurt, then tore his Achilles during his rehab. So I think St. Louis actually offers upside. And then Toronto's ownership is right in line with their top stack percentage, but all I've heard all day is like how Waldichuk's in play. I don't think people want to play Toronto in this ballpark, and I get it. The ballpark isn't good, and they haven't been great against lefties this year, but this is a team, much like San Diego on any given night, that has tournament winning upside, given the track record of the players in their lineup. So again, not going to be surprised if Toronto doesn't do anything here. And I do think Waldichuk is in play as like a tournament pivot off of Thought and, the other pitchers getting ownership, but I do like Toronto here. Just as a GPP winner that, they're projected to be 7% owned. That sounds about right to me. Wouldn't be surprised if they're 5% owned. I just don't think people want to go there tonight.
All right. That is totally fair. Any super contrarian stacks that you like under 3% ownership?
Man, Philly dropped down a lot in our top stack tool. They were like high at one point, no Trey Turner now. They still are coming in with leverage, but no on them is the team that I was interested in. If you asked me a couple hours ago, okay. A team that's getting like no love, maybe San Diego, just because Lorenzen's hit or miss. This is another team that when they go off, they hit home runs and they run. We saw it last night. Now, a couple other teams were better than them, but San Diego scored 7 runs. They hit a couple home runs. They stole like 4 bases. So San Diego can go off on any given night. They would probably be that team. As I mentioned, though, like most teams on this slate are getting the ownership they should. Like the Yankees, who I like, but the ownership's already there. Now, that said, and this is a question I'll ask you, what do you make of it when like the difference between let's say the 15th team in our top stack tool and the 10th team is like less than half of a percentage point?
Kind of go with who you want to go with. I think
right.
When it's that close, like the ownership can flip so
exactly.
much. Like, it's so hard to this team is over-owned by 0.2%. This team is under-owned by 0.2%. I think you just,
but that's just projections anyways.
Right. It's just projected ownership. That's just projected top stack odds. So yeah, when it is so close that like it's, pretty minimal difference, I think you just kind of, you trust your gut. You go, with the stack that you think is in the better matchup, do you think is in the better ballpark, do you think has better odds of putting up a big run is generally my approach. It also often for me will come down to like positionality, like just looking at like how can I build with this stack versus like if there are 2 equal stacks in terms of top stack odds, well, it still might be like this team has the same odds, but you can fill the shortstop and second base, and like better and catcher, and like get those positions filled out. Whereas, the White Sox is just 3 outfielders, and like it can be that can be a differentiator for me, for sure. Particularly when I'm hand building, of course. When I'm using an optimizer, that's not something I'm really I'm letting Fantasy Cruncher make those decisions for me. But yeah, if I'm hand building, that can be a big decision point for me too. Just like how easy is it to build within like. In terms of positions within the stack. So yeah, there are a number of different factors for me. How do you break those ties, or is it similar for you? You just kind of go with
it's very similar for me. It's hard to break those ties because like we look at the tools, and I don't want to say anything's gospel, but the tools are like, at the end of the day, that's what I'm using. I'm using the tools. Right. They know more than I do. Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's leading us. It's a good way to put it. That said, like there's a lot of nuance in this. And as I mentioned, like the ownership projections are just that, projections. Yep. So I use them and I agree with them. They're not supposed to be right on. And playing DFS for years, you kind of have a tendency to know like where people are going to go. That's not always right, but a lot of times it is. So like that's kind of what I'm seeing with Toronto here. Like, yeah, they're projected to go a little bit over-owned. I don't see them being any more owned than they are listed here. If anything, I think they're less owned than that. That's just like I have no, merit for saying that other than just playing in DFS contests, etc. And again, maybe I'm wrong. It just looks like there's a lot of offenses on this slate that you can make a case for, and they all look very similar.
Let's talk about
like one team. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go. One team. No.
Good.
One team we didn't talk about at all, I mentioned them briefly, is Baltimore. Especially if Detmers is getting their ownership, they look like the top team in the top stack tool in tournaments, like 5th overall in the top stack tool, like right behind the Cubs, getting about half the ownership that they deserve. Like that looks juicy to me.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. So Malakar accusing us of liking everybody. So I'm gonna give you a chance to give me some teams that you don't like. Do you have any major fades, like teams that you think are getting too high owned on this slate?
Well, I'm only playing 2 lineups tonight, so there's going to be a lot of teams I don't like that I won't like tonight and that I'm not playing.
Yeah.
But teams that I think are getting too much love. The Mets. I mean, there's a lot to like about them against Corbin, but they don't look that much different than the Orioles, the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, etc. And they're pulling the ownership. This is one where I'm the top guys in the Mets are going to be really high owned too, like Lindor, Alonso. 20% ish. That's too high for baseball in my eyes. Especially when Corbin's like not even bad. He's not good, but he's not a gas can. So the Mets are probably the team that I'd say there. Now that doesn't mean I won't play like a Lindor. You just talked about, positions to fill out. Shortstop still stinks. So if I'm using the Blue Jays, for instance, I don't have a shortstop there. Lindor is easily in play.
Yep. All right. As noted in chat, we do have some weather. So we got a question about the Cubs, and we do have in Wrigley Field winds out to left at 50 miles per hour. So that helps a bit there. In Kansas City, also some nice weather for bats. Starting with the Cubs, do you have any interest in the Cubs in this Wrigley weather spot?
Yeah, Cubs for sure. They're right in that mix. Getting a little bit too much love given our top stack tool, but again, they're right in line with the other teams. Yeah, they look like a good stack to go to tonight. I don't have like a strong feel for them as opposed to the other teams I just mentioned, but they're right in that mix, and our top stack tool likes them. I'm a little bit worried that Chicago and San Francisco get more ownership than we're projecting because people like these Wrigley games.
Yeah, people do like the Wrigley games, and with good reason. I mean, I think that
for sure
when the weather is right, it's like almost like Coors. Like Wrigley can be just so the weather can have such a huge impact there that I get it that people want to factor in that weather. It is all like incorporated into the lines though. Like, so, it's the projections.
You don't want to double count
in the weather. Yeah. So you just got to be careful if you're using projections, don't double count that stuff because it's all factored into the projections via the lines. So yeah, make sure you're not. Somebody says in chat, better than Coors. I think it's Sotex says he thinks it's better than Coors. I'm not sure. I haven't done any kind of analysis of that.
I think it can be depending on the wind.
Like if it's good enough. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Any other stacks that you want to talk about before we take a look at the lineup generator?
No. Well, actually, I'll bring up one other, the Yankees.
Okay.
So they're getting too much love given our top stack tool. They're like one of the least leveraged teams on the slate. They're right at the bottom. Them and the Mets, both New York teams. But like I see it, Faedo is not in play at all. And this is a team now, like they've called up Dominguez hitting third at 3K. Their lineup looks a lot better all of a sudden, and affordable. So like, I get it, mostly using them as pieces and they're getting ownership, but another team, good ballpark, they have home run upside. So, they're getting too much love, but I understand it. That's really all I got. I guess on the under-owned side, I would say Houston, pretty much as always. They're like the Braves. They're really hard to get to, but they're also like the Braves and they're coming in under-owned.
Yep. All right. That's fair. All right. Well, we'll get back to talking about these a little bit more, but I do want to tell you guys about the lineup generator. We're going to take a look at the MLB lineup generator. Jordan's already pulled up, but just so you know, we do have the NFL lineup generator back once again. It's you can get it as a standalone package or as part of our other packages, and you can build up to 10,000 lineups in 60 seconds currently. That's our stacks tool. So this is for all of our different tools. I was getting confused here. You can get 15% off any of our football packages using the link that Jordan will put in chat, or promo code kickoff 15% off any of our football packages. That will include our lineup generator, the Sims tools, all of our various packages for NFL. You can get for 15% off. So check those out. Again, that will include the lineup generator, including for the Showdown slate that is coming up. I've been playing around with that, seeing like how much do the NFL Showdown lineups reflect my approach to Showdown? Like, do they look like the types of lineups that I like to build? And a lot of them do, not all of them do. So it kind of makes it interesting. If you can choose lineups that are going to have better min cash equity, and you can choose lineups that are going to have better first place, like non-duped first place equity. So I've been enjoying playing around a little bit with the lineup generator for NFL. But we're going to do MLB here. This is an MLB show. So Jordan, let's take a look at some DraftKings MLB lineups. And let's do all stack types, all lineup types. And then we won't lock anybody. All right, so just save 20. None of that weird random discarding that Jordan usually does. All right, so we have Garrett Cole, our highest exposed player here, 60% Garrett Cole. Then we get 4 Mets. So you said you don't. The Mets are the team that you're most inclined to fade at the top. Of course, they still project really well, and you can still use Met lineups. Like, that's the beautiful thing about the lineup generator is it's not going to give you like really over-owned lineups. It's going to give you Mets lineups that are nicely balanced with some low-owned bats within the lineup. So even if you don't love the Mets as a whole tonight, you know that this is going to give you some good Mets lineups.
I do think that also, Adam talks about this a lot. The top end of the Mets, like Lindor, Alonso, is really pulling up the ownership. Like, you know, like Brett Beatty, for instance, he's third base only. He's sitting a couple spots behind Vientos, who's also third base only. He's going to get no love. And like, that's a way to get really different in your Met stacks. And if you're stacking the Mets, you think they're getting to Corbin. And if they're getting to Corbin, he's not pitching that long. They got righties coming in. Beatty's all of a sudden in a better spot. So like, there's certainly ways to get different. I get it.
Yep. And as you can see here, it's a lot of Mets at the top, but the top 2 are Alonso and Lindor, the guys that you would want to have in a lot of your lineups. So I always like to see that. Can we see the stack exposures, Jordan? So it's 45% Mets. So it's not like last week we were getting, I can't remember what team it was. I think maybe it was Toronto in Coors. We're getting to like 95% Toronto stack, something crazy high like that. This is just 45% Mets. So it looks like our highest exposed players are a lot, but they're still like nobody getting to 80% ownership, anything like that. We're just getting to a good amount of Lindor and Alonso, but fairly spread out overall here. And we got those 3 teams that were at the top. We got the Mets, the Giants, and the Braves all getting to over 30%. So that is good to see. And then some other stacks in there. Kansas City 25% is kind of interesting. They are another one of those good weather games there in Kansas City. The White Sox in that game as well, getting 10% ownership. So a lot of lineups getting that good weather treatment. We get that Cubs lineup as well. All right. I didn't see anything else in the player exposures that really jumped out. We do have some pay to reveal. I guess we should note that we got to 30% pay to reveal here. So the lineups reflecting what the top pitchers tool was showing, that pay to reveal might be worth playing in some lineups. So that's kind of interesting. But otherwise fairly spread out after those Met bats. It's not always spread out like this.
I'll tell you, I just updated the top stack tool. Like it's ever changing. Like teams are swapping spots like I've never seen before, just because the difference between them is so small.
Johnson Daily Sports says Matthew been doing this for a while. He knows his shit. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Matthew has been not on the Stochastic channel for that long, but he's been doing it elsewhere for a while. So yeah, definitely listen to Matthew. All right. Can we take a look at some FanDuel lineups as well, Jordan? And I'm seeing we have less than 15 minutes until lock. So if you haven't started building your lineups, make sure you get on that. Let's do again all stack types, all lineup types, not locking anybody. All right, pretty spread out once again on FanDuel. So we have 50% Ozzie Albies, 45% Aaron Judge, 45% Ronald Acuna. A lot of bats at the top that are kind of the bats that you don't mind having a lot of, and nobody over 50%, which I like to see, even though we know, again, every lineup you get is going to be a plus EV lineup individually. I still like to spread out to like various teams that have plus EV lineups. So I like that these are fairly spread out today. Can we see these stack exposures as well, Jordan? So 45% Atlanta in this one. So this is how, running the different 20 lineups, they might get completely different results. Still getting plus EV lineups, but very different. And of course, this is FanDuel versus DraftKings, so a little bit different data. But 45% Atlanta, 35% of the Yankees, 25% of the Cubs, 20% Kansas City. A lot of pretty spread out here in terms of our stack exposure and in terms of our player exposure. Can you click on player exposure one more time, Jordan? I just want to see what pitches we're getting to here. So we get to some Garrett Cole, our highest exposed. Brandon Pfaadt we're getting to on FanDuel as well. Anybody else that we're getting to? Let's see. Chris Bassett getting to a good amount on FanDuel. Pedro Avila. We did get to 10% Pedro Avila. So I was thinking maybe he'd be a fade on FanDuel, but apparently looks good enough to make it into at least 10% of lineups here. So that's kind of interesting. But generally pretty spread out on FanDuel as well. Matthew, how are your lineups looking?
They're looking good. I have one made and I'm in the process of making the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to make sure
one
that
of them,
you get those in before lock.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I remember at the NBA Live final, my rep was texting me like 5 minutes before, like, you only have 2 lineups in. And I was like, I got it. Like, me responding to this, I know they have to do that, but like me responding to this text is like taking me away from what I'm trying to do. Right. Yeah, no, not worried about it. I will say I'm doing a 1 through 5 Toronto stack in the one that I've made. So prepare for them to score 0 runs. Yeah. So, there's a lot of, just like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of okay spots here. Atlanta obviously looks really good. Expensive though, especially for the guys you want. So I think that, you can make a case for over half the teams tonight, which, is rare.
Yeah. No, that's true. It is a very spread slate. We don't have like one of those Coors slates where it's like 40% chance of this team being the top stack. We're very spread out, which is kind of fun for a Millie Maker slate, being, having a little bit more spread. We're not just everybody going to be condensed to one team, makes it a little bit more interesting.
Like I said, I was worried. Sorry to interrupt, but just to take that a step further, I said I was a little bit worried about, like the San Francisco Cubs ownership, but like then you've got the Mets. Like we also have Arizona getting ownership, Toronto. Like at some point, some of these teams aren't going to, some of them are going to be a little bit over, we project them, and a couple of them are going to go way under in my eyes.
True. Yep. That is a good call out. What I was going to say is, so last time we talked, we were talking about your FanDuel live final experience the next day. And you sent me your lineups and you did pretty well. Like you cashed both of them. You didn't get to the top, but who did you end up playing in the final? Do you remember?
So yeah, I do. I played the Cubs and the Reds in one lineup, and I played the Cubs, and I played the Reds and the Astros in the other lineup.
That's right.
If I had played the Astros and the Cubs together, of course, would have been the nuts. The Reds were awful. Just playing low-owned Astros and low-owned Cubs, like in the separate lineups, got me to the cash line because both those teams were really good low-owned. So
the Astros went off. They were like 15 runs too, right?
Nuts. And like that was I was in one of my lineups. I told you afterwards. I was playing around with it, obviously, for a while.
Yeah.
One of them I was thinking about doing a wraparound Astro stack, which, on FanDuel, like it's even like much riskier, especially if the catcher's hitting ninth. Like usually like a shitty catcher like Maldonado, like who ended up homering, like in a 2 lineups, like I only have 2 lineups. Me using Maldonado in one of them, like probably not going to happen. Just wasn't going to do it. But I did have one built out where I had him in it, like with the wraparound stack. That lineup would have won the tournament. And then I had one where I was messing around with a Cleveland stack, and they ended up going insane in extra innings that day. But like, can't be that mad. That was like the only day they went off. Like I ended up cashing, even though my lineups weren't that great. It was a tough slate, but very sharp field. But that's how it always is. I think the winner ended up having Astros and Cubs.
Oh man, so you got 2 of the stacks that the winner had, just not in the same lineup.
That was all top stack tool, honestly, because I was really torn on my decision, and like I was like, for pardon my French, but fuck it, I'm gonna just let the tools do it for me. Yep. Tools loved the Cubs and Astros. They were expensive, so it was hard to put them together. But like they did well enough in each of the separate ones to help me cash. So again, like you said, can't complain too much.
Yeah, when you cashed, you played it well. They didn't get there, but like if you're cashing that kind of tournament, that you did something right. Cheryl Cortex says, I'm in Ohio and it's hotter than the Devil's butt crack. You're in Ohio too, right, Bellman? Is it hotter than the Devil's butt crack?
Yeah, it's hot as hell here. It's hot all over the Midwest. It's really, really hot here. I don't think it's 97 hot, but it's like low 90s.
Sotex says it's a little cool down here in South Texas, only 100 right now. Yeah, that's a different world. And then B-Funk says, was in Vegas a month ago and it was 113 degrees. That was my wife was in Vegas on my birthday. She invited me to go along. I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in going to Vegas in July. That does not appeal to me at all. The heat there is not something I can handle here in the Midwest. All right, should we talk about some FanDuel top stacks a little bit?
Yeah, let's get it.
All right. So on FanDuel, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar. Our three highest owned teams. Oh, actually, it's a little bit different in terms of highest owned. We have the Cubs sneaking in this. We have Atlanta, San Francisco, and then the Cubs rather than the Mets. The Mets are down at just 8% projected ownership on FanDuel. The Yankees also in there at 9%. Anything different for you on FanDuel versus DraftKings? Any of these teams that you are full fade that you would full fade if you're playing on FanDuel, or you know, at least fading the field's ownership? Any teams that you'd want to be well over the field?
The one thing that stands out is Atlanta is getting more ownership here because they're a little bit easier to fit, which is not unsurprising given, FanDuel. So they're still the top stack on the board, but they're actually coming in with a little bit of negative leverage, whereas opposed to DK, they're not. So Baltimore looks like the best leverage team on the slate. The White Sox also look good in that regard. As far as like just from a 30,000 foot view, it's similar because they're all facing the same pitchers. It's the same hitters, right? So, I think it's a slate even on DK with lineups now shifting a little bit, like guys getting called up. There's cheap pieces all over. So I think you can make pretty much any lineup construction work. It's funny, like FanDuel, every team is getting about the ownership that they should, except for Baltimore and Houston. And it's almost right there. You almost never see that.
Yeah. We got a question, so we've been talking about a lot about the stacks, but Andrew Martinez wants to know who would be the priorities for the Braves, and looking in the top batters to it seems to be the usual suspect. So it's Acuna has an 11% chance of being top fantasy scorer at his position. We got Matt Olson up there, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Sean Murphy. Would you play Sean Murphy on FanDuel?
Yeah, I think if you're stacking the Braves, like he's definitely worth a look. Hitting seventh at home, like, he's not the most ideal play, but in tournaments, if I'm like going all out on the Braves, I think he's a good way to get different.
Yeah. So we have, it's the usual suspects for the Braves. You can play, even Ozuna looks good. Michael Harris looks good. Nicky Lopez, the only Braves player who does not look great to me. We only have him with a 2% chance of being the top fantasy scorer at his position. But he's also going to get lower ownership as a result. He's relatively inexpensive. So you could still play Nicky Lopez in a 5-man Brave stack. Probably wouldn't play him like as a one-off, but I think any other Braves player, I think you could also play as a one-off. Even at Eddie Rosario, I think looks good enough to play as a one-off. So yeah, you pick your poison with the Braves, whoever fits in to your particular lineup, in my opinion. All right. Any other stacks you want to talk about on FanDuel? Anything that any fades on FanDuel? So I guess you said the Braves are getting much higher ownership on FanDuel. Would they be a fade for you there?
Probably, because they're getting too much love. If I were trying to play the Braves and try to jam them in on DK where they're not. Sure. That said, though, it also goes back to pretty much every team is getting as much love as they should. So then it goes back to just play the best teams, right?
Yeah, that is a good point. When it is spread out, play the best teams. So that would be Atlanta. I mean, best teams and best situations. So like Cubs in Wrigley look pretty good. Like there's a reason.
Yeah,
they're not the same quality as the Braves, but they are in a great spot in Wrigley. Would you consider the Yankees, like, is that a play the best teams? Do they factor in there?
So the Yankees are one that I like on paper a lot, but the tools just get me off them. They're just getting too much ownership. Like, I don't think you have to worry too much about ownership today, but they are the one team, them and the Mets, that jump out as getting way too much love on both sides. So that's one where I'd steer away from.
Yep. PowerBook's asking for the late slate stacks on FanDuel. So it's once again, we have the Braves with the highest top stack odds on the late night slate on FanDuel. We actually have some really nice positive leverage on the Braves on the late night slate. Is this for today? Is this updated for today? Maybe I just need to go late. No, wait, hang on a second. Let me make sure I have this right, because it's this showing the Braves against Tampa Bay. So maybe it's not updated. I'm wondering if I'm on the wrong slate here. Night slate.
I don't even know when they played Tampa Bay.
All right, no, that says very early. Yeah, I can't. I'll pull up the late slate on FanDuel real quick. How's your last lineup looking?
Fortunately or unfortunately, and it's just because the shortstop position, I'm ending up with Lindor in both my lineups. I did a Cardinal stack in my other one. I don't care about the ownership. I don't love Lindor in both my lineups, but filling out a one-off shortstop, like him or Swanson, I like them similarly. Swanson's at home. hitting 5th. Lindor's on the road hitting 2nd.
Right.
So like, I just like Lindor slightly more. The ownership doesn't really worry me. Like, I'm not stacking the Mets. I'm just using Lindor as a one-off. So it's just a matter of, like you said, I don't have a short, like the Cardinals. I'm not using Mason Wynn because I'm not stacking. I'm using 2 through 6 in the Cardinals lineup. So
right.
They have a catcher, but no shortstop. And again, the Cardinals just jump out at me. Like, I was thinking about Cardinals or Yankees. The tools say the Cardinals are the much better look. So that's kind of how I made my decision. I think it's going to take, outside the box team. I think is going to win this slate.
Yeah.
And St. Louis certainly is an outside the box team in my eyes. Again, I like Baltimore. They're expensive, and I do prefer them against right-handed pitching.
You don't have Cedric Mullins in your lineup, do you?
No, he's out, right?
Okay. Malachar just said Mullins out. I thought it was breaking news, but apparently it was already out. Okay.
Yeah, their lineup came out a few minutes ago. They stacked up with the righties. They've got Gunnar hitting 5th. He's much better against right-handed pitching, but he's still elite, with his stolen base upside power. I'm not ending up on Baltimore. This is kind of, like I said, I'm only making 2 lineups, going with my gut / what the tools are telling me. St. Louis and Toronto are both upper half, teams in our top stack tool. Neither one's getting like a lot of ownership. So I don't think I have too much to worry there. Like, yeah, you could make a case that like I should play the A's because no one else is going to play them. But like, I also want some cash equity built in there. You know what I mean? So like, I think both these teams are in decent spots to score some runs, even if I don't win the tournament. Like, I'm not building them just to cash, but I'm not stacking like, Oakland just to, on the off chance that if they go off, I'm going to win the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. You don't have to go crazy on this kind of slate with a smaller field.
I do think, and that's something that's not talked about enough, and I've heard James McCool talk about this a lot, like cash equity in lineups, like doesn't get talked about a lot. Like,
it's true.
In GPPs, they're very top heavy, so the goal is to win them, but there's also something to be said for consistently cashing.
Yep, and you can build plenty of lineups that have both cash equity and top spot equity. Like, it is possible to build lineups that have both. That is, of course, always the goal, is to build lineups that have a good shot at cashing, but also still have a chance, some lower owned parts that are going to give you a real shot at winning also. So yeah, that is kind of the goal. All right. So late slate FanDuel. Yes, I agree. Baltimore, Philly, he says that he likes. I would also throw Toronto and San Diego in there as teams that I would kind of like for the 4-game late slate on FanDuel. But more importantly, Bellman, we need to get to our home run picks. We got to make our home run picks to close out the show. Have you given any thought to who your home run pick might be today? All right.
I have. Not having a great year against lefties, not a great ballpark. I just feel it. George Springer,
who we have. Where do we have him? George Springer. I can't even find George Springer. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna find him.
I don't care about the stupid home run odds, Neil.
Oh, it's all about the home run odds.
I know. I'm just kidding.
We've got Springer with a 12% chance of hitting a home run. So yeah, that's why I couldn't find him. Little ways down. I love it though. I like that you're going off the board. Gives me a better chance of beating you. Me getting it right.
Yes, it does.
Getting it wrong. Because I'm just going straight to the top of the board. Has anybody stolen it from me yet? I don't think anybody's stolen it yet. So I'm going to go straight for my guy, Matt Olson, who we have with 39% chance of hitting a home run.
That's crazy. I thought it was going to be Alonso. What's he?
We have Alonso 4th on the board with a 29% chance of hitting a home run. So a little bit lower on the board, but another solid home run call on Alonso as well. Oh, I see. The slate doesn't lock for another 5 minutes. I thought that
no, it locked.
Oh, it did lock. Okay. All right. Apparently I'm in the wrong tools. Maybe just FanDuel doesn't lock until mine says 6:10 for FanDuel. So
that's weird.
All right. Well, we are going to close up.
Wait, there's no way because the Mets game locked.
Yeah, I don't know what's going. Yeah, my DraftKings is showing me that it's locked. So I don't know what's going on. What I'm seeing. I'm clearly like using the tools wrong right now. I don't usually have problems with the tools not making sense to me, but so clearly I have something wrong pulled up. Anyway, that is going to do it. Matt, what any final words?
No, man. I always love doing shows with you. It's fun. So hopefully we get to do another one soon. Well, I'm with you. Oh, no, you're not on the weekends anymore.
I think that might have been just a one-time thing because I traded off. I actually haven't looked at
Oh,
the schedule for this set. I don't know if I'm off it. I might be off it going forward because also everything's changing with the NFL. I actually don't know fully what my schedule looks like. I have to look at it every day to figure out what I'm doing. But yeah, hopefully you and I'm sure that we'll do more shows together in the near future. Maybe we'll do some NFL, maybe we'll do some NBA. I don't know. So far we've just done, I think we've just done MLB. I don't think we did it in the NBA. Of course, we did high stakes. As Mike said, you should check out high stakes. But yeah, I think as far as sports go, me and Maddie have only done MLB. So hopefully we'll do some other content together going forward. But thank you guys so much for watching us. Give us a like if you haven't done so. And as I said, you really should. So you got 2 days to sign up for Owner's Box. Fantastic deal. Check out all of the details of the deal because it really is a great one at Owner's Box. Sign up there and hopefully we'll get some overlay, but we'll see. All right. Thanks for watching. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, guys.